The final shot of The Last of Us Part 2. We see Ellie walking away from the guitar Joel left her, unable to play the If I Were to Lose You song.
Nice, you can't even fucking play the guitar now. Congratulations, idiot.
She heads into the woods, presumably to find Dina, and rebuild some form of a family. This moment is symbolic.
That's the life lesson. We gotta move on from The Last of Us, you guys.
It's telling us to let go of the original protagonists, Joe and Ellie, and if you check the main menu after the credits, that tells me two things. One, Ellie's story's finished and that there's nothing left to explore there. And two, Abby's story is still open-ended, setting up a potential third game starring Abby, not Ellie. The Last of Us Part 2 is definitely controversial. If you love the first game, the sequel took a direction nobody was expecting. While Joel's death pissed off a lot of people, I accepted it would act as a catalyst for Ellie's revenge arc. After all, we see something similar in the first game where Joel loses his daughter, a tragedy that shapes his character from a loving father to a hardened survivor, giving us an insight to his psyche, where we understand and empathize with his decisions. If you think about it, there's probably a lot of Joels in the world of The Last of Us, good people broken by loss, who abandoned their humanity to survive. That being said, I can forgive the decision to kill him, because in a very meta way, Joel is our Sarah, like how he's Ellie's Sarah, a character we cherish, brutally murdered right in front of us, just like how Sarah was in Joel's arms. Still, they could have done his death more cleverly. I find it funny that Abby's crew had doubts that they would even find Joe and Jackson, only for him to basically fall into their laps a few moments later, but that's classic Naughty Dog convenience.
Joe.
No way. The one guy they're trying to kill.
If you played Uncharted, then you know what I mean. How Nathan Drake conveniently stumbles on a missing piece of a centuries-old puzzle that would eventually lead him to the lost city he's looking for. But we forgive those conveniences in Uncharted because that's an over-the-top action-adventure game.
How convenient.
The same cannot be said about The Last of Us because it's a more grounded, realistic story, which demands reasonable writing, instead of random characters conveniently saving the day. It would have been cooler to see Abby and her crew earn Jackson's trust, only to betray them once they find Joel, maybe even sabotaging the community and unleashing the infected within the Jackson walls, leading to a climax where they get the upper hand on Joe and taking him out. But that would have made Abby the villain, and Naughty Dog clearly didn't want that. Despite how it went down, Joe's death was inevitable, like a Thanos-level inevitability, because it leads to Ellie's campaign, which is by far the best part of the game. I felt her rage, her thirst for revenge. I wanted justice for Joel just as much as she did. The game is very smart in doing this. Unfortunately, the game isn't consistent in that regard. Instead of a Kill Bill style revenge story, which I thought it was my first time playing it, and I thought the game was badass because of it, no, the game instead morphs into a guilt simulator. Suddenly revenge is bad, and Ellie is supposed to feel horrible for killing everybody. All this meanwhile I've been slicing throats hiding in bushes for the past 5 hours.
You serious?
The stealth mechanic in this game is peak Naughty Dog stealth, a culmination that started way back from even the first Uncharted. It's fantastic and polished here. Enemies lose track of you if you're out of their sight for too long, which works great for my ambush and hide playstyle. I even got good with a bow. Satisfying. The little girl we protected in the first game became a Sarah Connor tier badass. Joe would have been proud. But then the guilt arc kicks in. I'm not gonna lie, it's kinda cringe how I'm supposed to feel bad for murdering dozens WLF members, who, by the way, shoot outsiders on sight. Here's the thing, we're not killing for the sport.
We're gonna kill the both of you.
Why you want to do a thing like that?
I don't know. Sport, I guess.
We're doing it because we have to survive. It's kinda hard for Ellie to persuade them with open arms when they are no better than the hunters from the first game. Same with the Scars, but the game suggests killing them is more acceptable because they're a religious cult. And Ellie feeling bad for killing Mel because she's pregnant is just ridiculous. Like how many of the other NPCs were pregnant? We'll never know because they're dead. As for the side characters, I didn't care much for Dina, and just when Jesse started to grow on me, boom, shot in the face. Jeez, thanks for that. What I hate is that through the entirety of the game, Ellie was always willing to die for a chance at a cure, even though in the first game, there was no guarantee that her death would actually lead to one. I would have liked to see Ellie find the meaning of life, love, family, peace, the future that Joel dreamed for her, the one that Fireflies would have stolen. And what were the Fireflies even going to do with a cure? Save the world? Or use it as a weapon against Fedra? But no, Naughty Dog isn't brave enough to suggest that the Fireflies could be the bad guys. And we never expand on Ellie's immunity. We never know why she's immune or why she's the only one that is immune. Would her kids be immune? If so, that could have been her reason to live, passing on her immunity to her children, being the foundation of humanity's next chapter. Then her life would have had more meaning if she lived than if she were to die. But I guess that's too deep for good old Drucky, huh? The game forgets all of that in service of the worst decision in gaming history. And that's forcing us to play as this roided out monster Abby. At first I thought we'd play as her briefly, but no, her segment is literally half the game. I'm not gonna lie, it might be longer than Ellie's whole campaign. And it's so obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to make me feel for Abby's crew, so when I eventually kill them as Ellie, I feel more guilty. But guess what? Her friends suck. Like we're supposed to care about this millennial melodrama. Like Manny's a selfish prick who cuts the rations line just to get 3 sandwiches for himself. Mel is pregnant and is constantly putting herself in harm's way, like she's somehow invincible. Owen is the horniest dude of the bunch, just banging everybody. He gets Mel pregnant and cheats on her with Abby. And let's talk about Abby. The game kisses her ass so hard even though she betrays her community, killing everyone she knows. Like how can I feel bad for killing these people as Ellie if I'm doing half the job as Abby? Still, the game gives her the moral high ground. And don't get me started with Lev. Lev is a trans kid that Abby sympathizes with. They basically play as the new progressive Joe and Ellie, something that nobody asked for. I mean, this is the biggest pile of who gives a shit ever. These characters have no flaws. They're perfect and oppressed, making them bland and unappealing. By the way, what does this part have to do with the story?
Nothing.
The whole idea of Abby's perspective is ruined when you don't give us an interesting reason to root for the character. The worst part of Abby's story is when you have to beat the piss out of Ellie. God, I hated this part. You're telling me that sweet, innocent girl from the first game gets pummeled by this soy boy fantasy? No, thank you. If you want the good ending, just run up to Ellie's shotgun, screenshot Abby's face getting torn apart, then uninstall. That's how you win. This boss fight is the real transition of the protagonist, because in Neil Druckmann's eyes, Abby is the real hero. Joe is the ultimate villain for saving Ellie. Now Ellie must forever suffer because of it. While Abby loses nothing. She didn't even lose her friends because she killed her friends. All these wolves knew her name. She hung out with them a couple of times. She betrays them, turns traitor for this random kid she just met. Like, why? Is it really because Lev is trans? What are they trying to say anyways? That the bond between 2 trans people is stronger than family and community? Like Lev literally kills her mom and everyone's just cool with it. All this because Lev shaved her head like the other boys and wanted to be like them. Give me a break. Well, after we beat the shit out of Ellie, we fast forward in time. Ellie and Dina is raising Jesse's kid in some farm somewhere. It all seems peaceful until Ellie's PTSD flares up because she still has some unfinished business with Abby. Respect. Somehow Tommy survives getting shot in the head because of Naughty Dog's plot armor. I guess they couldn't figure out how to continue the story otherwise. Anyways, he gives Abby's location, and Ellie goes full Sarah Connor mode. We then transition to Abby and Lev finding the location of the stupid Fireflies base. Then they get captured in the most satisfying way possible. Nice. We switch back to Ellie. God, this game is all over the place. After an intense endgame segment where you get an overpowered machine gun in a traditional Last of Us style, we finally get the final boss fight with Abby. And you already know what happens. Ellie doesn't kill her. Wow, what a letdown. It's almost like her coming here looking for Abby was completely pointless. Ellie then returns to the farm. It's empty, and Dina's gone. She tries to play guitar, but guess what? Abby bit off her fingers, so she can't even play the one song that connected her to Joel. Totally butchering If I Were to Lose You. Tragic. I bet Ellie regrets not killing Abby right about now. Just like how Ellie moving on from Joel is symbolized in this final shot, so must us, the audience. The legacy of the first Last of Us goes beyond gaming. It's a story that transcends media. That's why the first HBO season was so successful. but the sequel is a shit stain that tarnishes the legacy of the first game. We must forget about The Last of Us. Forget about Joel, forget about Ellie, forget about those damn clickers. Their story is done, it's over, and there's nothing to expand on. That's why they were pushing Abby and Lev's segment as hard as they did, because these two are the new Joel and Ellie. A progressive Joel and Ellie. One that we didn't ask nor care about. And definitely one that's going to be present in the third game if they ever make it, which I hope they don't. Despite what Neil Druckmann believes, this gender progressive trans-politic relation would never be as strong or relatable as the bond between a father and a daughter, leaving us in a depressed, uninspired world. And that's all I gotta say about that.